There's a volcano in Nebraska. Well, that's what we're setting out to find today. There is a couple small towns in the area, one small town, one ghost town, and we're gonna go into each one of those towns. The first one that we're gonna stop at is NewCastle, Nebraska. Now they call it a village online when you research it, about a population of 270, and it's got a really cute downtown. I went downtown and looked around at each store. Again, I love those old buildings, especially when they have like the bank sign on top and it's all engraved in stone and in brick. And it's the typical Midwest small town. It's quiet, it's cozy, and of course, they have all sorts of shops downtown that are unique to the downtown area in NewCastle. But again, they have a really neat park nearby. So I thought I'd go check out the park. I'd go check out the cemetery and a couple of the churches in town, and just took a look around town. The park itself, which I think is pronounced Pfister Park, it's actually beautiful. They got a nice sign there. But the second reason why we're doing this video is we're going to go up into that ghost town Ionia. And Ionia is famous because there is a story of the Ionia Volcano. Now, was it a real volcano? Not necessarily. There's stories that say that Lewis and Clark took an expedition up Missouri. When they went around the bend, of course, they saw smoke coming up from the bluffs, and then they said that the water was too hot to touch and that the ground was too hot to touch as well. And so there's that story from Lewis and Clark that there was a volcano. Now, since then, they said that the minerals from the bluff caused a chemical reaction when it would fall into the Missouri River, and of course, causing smoke and all sorts of other things. So hear the words of Lewis and Clark in their journal as they journaled this journey up and running into the Ionia volcano. We set out at the usual time and proceeded to the commencement of a blue clay bluff of 180 or 190 feet high on the U.S. Those bluffs appear to have been latterly on fire, and at this time too hot for a man to bear his hand in the earth at any depth. Great appearance of coal. An eminent quality of cobalt, or a crystallized substance which answers its description, is on the face of the bluff. There, on a narrow plateau about halfway up the bluff, we saw and smelt the sulfurous vapor which indicated the spot we sought. On arriving at the plateau, we saw several fissures in the clay from which issued vapor so hot that the ground in the vicinity was too warm to rest a hand on comfortably. On listening, we could hear strange sounds under our feet, like the distant roar of a blast furnace. Okay, so we're going to set out to the ghost town of Ionia. There's nothing really left of Ionia today. There is the Ionia Cemetery, which we'll go through. And then right across the highway or within that vicinity is the Ionia Volcano location. So let's go there now. Well, we made it out to Ionia, and of course the only thing really left today is the Ionia Cemetery, which we'll walk through. Ionia was around actually at the turn of the century. The post office finally closed in 1907, but the town really was a sister city over to NewCastle, which is why I wanted to show you NewCastle to begin with. It's only about 6 miles away. So NewCastle is a great little small town, but the ghost town of Ionia and the stories surrounding it are still here. So peaceful out here. Civil War vet. You can always tell that too because they have this signal here, right? Grand Army of the Republic, GAR, GAR, 61 through 65. Sometimes you see these smaller stones and they represent a child. Let's see if we can see it here. This is unique. You have the headstones around the tree. So ultimately, Ionia, of course, was dealing with the volcanic stuff that was going on with the Ionia volcano. Now, what do I mean by that? Historically, they were recorded that there were some earthquakes in the area. And beyond that, it was the Missouri River that really took Ionia. Flood after flood, dealing with the Missouri River. And when we find that volcano, I kind of take you out to that area where the bluff is. Now the bluff is no longer, but we'll show you that here shortly. And so this area here, not much left, obviously, within the trees in the boundary. I even heard that maybe there was a silo half-mile down and maybe some remnants of an old house. We'll have to check it out and see. Such a beautiful setting the cemetery's on. It's on a hillside here in Nebraska. You can just see, if you thought Nebraska was flat, surprise. When you get into the corners, and especially in the sand hills and up by the Missouri, it gets very hilly. Like a lot of Midwest ghost towns, there's not much left of Ionia but the cemetery here. But we are gonna go try to find that Ionia volcano, which is supposed to be right around here. So let's see if we can find it. We found it. It's directly across the road from the cemetery. It's not hard to find at all. In fact, I just walked right over. August 26th, 1804, members of the Lewis and Clark expedition noted a large bluff that was hot to touch and appeared to be on fire. Today, this is known as the Ionia Volcano. The shale bluff did have a sulfuric smell and steam rising like a volcano. At the time the river flowed at the base of this bluff, today the river is about a mile north of the bluff with cropland and the floodplain in between. So over time, of course, the bluff eroded and became no longer as it collapsed down into the river. So the Missouri used to be right here. And now, of course, you can see it in the distance, a mile that direction. It changed course. All right, so if you didn't think there was a volcano in Nebraska, think again. Was it a volcano? Of course, we know that it wasn't a volcano, but it did have some of the characteristics of one, right? With the sulfuric smell, the heat from the river, and of course, that can be all attested to that Iron Pirate going into the, did I say pirate? Iron Pirate going into the Missouri River. So, you know, it's towns like this and it's history like this around the area that I always want to come and just share it with people, especially in the Midwest. I just read something today. Somebody said, there's nothing to do in Nebraska. In fact, the old slogan, I think, was, Nebraska, it's not for everyone. And I think Nebraska is for everyone, especially the small town areas, especially when you study the history of this. I didn't even know that this story even existed of the Ionia Volcano. And now here we are, right? And it's easy to find. You just come on, head down, you hit NewCastle, right? I think it's Highway 12. You take that like 6 miles north and you're gonna find it. Just be respectful, right? You're at a cemetery, pay respect there. You can go across the road and see the volcano and learn the history of what the Lewis and Clark expedition ran into when they came up here between the border of South Dakota and Nebraska on the Missouri River. And of course, this is on the Nebraska side. All part of history, all part of small town lore. And I love it. And I love sharing it with you too. Thanks for coming along. This is Midwest Small Town.